Welcome. My name is Alex Carr, and this is My Word, episode number 7. Usually I like to start off this show talking about, something that I am not. Like, I'll be like, oh, I'm Oprah, or I'm whoever. I just take whatever's popular in the news that week and then say that I'm that. It's a little thing that I do. But I didn't today because the thing in the news this week is insensitive. So I'm not going to say that I'm, any of the characters involved in the big trial this week. You probably saw Derek Chauvin was found guilty of killing George Floyd. And we're not going to talk about that today. But one thing I noticed about it that's really embarrassing, if you own a company that's like a graphic design company or a photography company or even if it's one of those money flipping companies and you have no integrity, you should know that when your bot goes out there and something like this happens, so there's these bots that just spam everybody's stuff, and it's like everybody, Derek Chauvin found guilty, everybody posts, everyone in the world, as if someone else didn't hear, like, you know what, I bet my 600 followers didn't know or whatever. Like, I got to get this news out there. People need to know this guy was found guilty. I don't really get that, but I don't get a lot of social media stuff. But what I notice is as I'm scrolling, it's literally like Derek Chauvin found guilty, or it'll be like the reaction of George Floyd's family. Super serious stuff. And then your spam advertisements, whatever your bot is, it's like George Floyd's mother cries as hearing verdict. And then underneath it's like, do you need graphic design? Hit up my page. And there's all these fire emojis and like, you can't miss it. Hit up my page for some graphic design. It's like, does anybody look at that and go, wait a sec. Hey, I saw your spam ad on George Floyd's mother's photo, the photo of her crying. And I noticed you do some great graphic design work. I was hoping to get, so that needs to be tweaked. You're looking real insensitive when you do that sort of stuff. There should be a way to figure it out. The bots, someone talk to Russia. Be like, you got to fix your bots and then let them have a little bit more sensitivity to what's going on in the world. But let's get to what this shows. Today, we're going to be talking about AstraZeneca's golden skeleton. So you probably don't know what a golden skeleton is, and I'll get into exactly what it is. It's kind of a bad thing. There's a great documentary called The Yes Men. I suggest you watch it. That's where I got the term golden skeleton from. These guys go and give fake presentations to companies about really evil stuff, and then they just film their reaction to see. They're like, we're going to kill people for money. We're going to make humans into candles. And the people sit there like, okay, how can we profit from this? It's really good. It's called The Yes Men. It's free on YouTube. They've been sued into oblivion. You'll probably never hear a promotion for it anywhere else. We're going to talk about AstraZeneca's golden skeleton and why, for more than one reason, it's a golden skeleton. But first, we're going to talk about just yesterday, crazy experience. So I have all my wisdom teeth because I'm scared of all procedures. And I'll go to the dentist to get cleaned, right? I'm vain, but I'm scared of real procedures. So I never got any of my wisdom teeth out. And I even got one of them filled with a cavity where they're like, we can't do that. And I begged them. I was like, please, I just don't want to get them removed. So yesterday I go to get it removed. And let me tell you, fellas, for all the fellas, there's a time when we need to put away the boys being boys. Saturdays are for the boys. The dentist office is not for the boys. Because I go in, and first the assistant, I had a Portland Trailblazers t-shirt on. And the assistant to the dentist is like, oh, you like the Trailblazers? Cool. So we start talking Trailblazers. And I'll be honest, I'm terrified. I'm so scared, but I'm pretending to be cool. But in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I have to get a needle. I have to get, the guy's going to go in there and start cracking teeth. And he's like, you like the Blazers, huh? So then we're trying to find the game on the TV so that I can watch it while, he puts screwdrivers in my mouth or whatever. And this guy's really into, so this part was really heartwarming because he's actually from a different country. And one thing that I find really cool is if you're a basketball fan, no matter what country you're from, you're a fan of the NBA. There's nobody that really says like, oh, I love Russia's like Euro, whatever, Euro League, Russia. I love Russia's league. Nobody says that. So this guy's from a totally different country, and that was kind of heartwarming to me, because even though we don't like America as a place, we all love their sports. It supersedes it. Their evil is always superseded by the awesomeness of their sports, how high quality the presentation of their sports is. So that guy's like, yeah, like, you know, the U.S. displaced my family and we can't go back to our hometown or anything. But man, oh man, was Golden State good for the last 5 years, huh? Quite something. And I'm like, yeah, as a Canadian, they take our water and they sell it back to us at a higher price. But you're right. I can't get enough of LeBron James in the finals every year. Is he going to win? Is he not? It's so fun. And then we really did have this awesome conversation. So then the dentist comes in and I'm like, okay, now let's get down to some dental work. And he literally he just like looked in, and then he was like, so you're a Portland fan, huh? And I was like, oh, more basketball talk. Okay. So we're just talking about basketball. The dentist and the assistant are so into basketball. It's insane. And he's got all these very nuanced opinions that he's bringing up to me. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm still trying to play it cool. So then he starts the procedure, and he literally doesn't. He's just like, open your mouth. So the Brooklyn Nets have a lot of stars, huh? And he's just talking. And so we get the needles in. And at this point, I'm like still pretty scared. And he's going on and on about basketball. And in my head, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, he didn't know how scared I was. So I was like, hey, can we just focus on the dental work or whatever? You know, this isn't Sports Desk. I would love for you to just sort of focus on that. But he's not to say he wasn't doing a great job. He's doing a great job. But it was just making me really nervous. And he was probably trying to make me less nervous. But at one point, he took him 3 full tries to get this wisdom tooth out. The tooth didn't want to go. It wanted to stay in my mouth, and I don't blame this wisdom tooth for wanting to stay in my mouth. I'm always eating pizza, you know, CBD vapes. This tooth is probably addicted to CBD vape, and it's like, I can't leave this man's mouth. You know, I'll sober up. It'll be awful. Movies will be boring. Food won't taste good. And it's like, you're a tooth. So the tooth he can't come out, and he's actually just a little guy. And this is crazy to me, because he's like, wrenching it. He's like, I need you to turn your head. I was like, I have to turn my head. And he's like, use your lip, use your mouth muscle and snap it out. And he's like, he's got this thing like in my, and he's like, he's wrenching it. And he's like it felt like he was using his weight. And then he's just, he's like, okay, I'll stop for a bit, whatever. And like at one point, he's like, give him a little suction. And I could like taste the blood. I'm sure there was a ton of it. He's like a little suction, and the assistant was still trying to get the game on. I don't know, man. The Pelicans and the Nets play today. I don't know what's going on. And I was like, in my head, I was kind of like, no, priorities. I do want to see the game. The Nets do have a ton of stars. So that's the real game that was on. So then the next round, the guy's like, all right, get back in there. Get your mouth ready. And that's not how he talked. He talked like a normal dentist. And he just, boom, he puts it in, and he's talking, and he goes, he's wrenching. And while wrenching, I'm listening to this sound in my mouth that's like, and it just feels like somebody's just taking something off of my jaw, which he was. And he goes, you know, you got James Harden and Kyrie Irving on the Nets. But where exactly does Kevin Durant fit in? And he lifts his hands off of the tool, which is sticking all of my head. He's like, where does Kevin Durant fit into all this? And I was just thinking, like, do I answer? You know? Like, he was a role player with the Warriors. I think he's going to be fine on the Nets. He managed to find his spot. Yeah, he's the greatest of all time, one of the best. But I couldn't say it. And he just puts his hand, goes right back to wrenching it. God, it was horrible. I left. I was like, my whole body was shaking, and it was hurting. At another point, he was like, "Hey, so what do you think of LeBron James? Do you like him or not like him?" And I just thought, like, you know what? I'd like to not have a chisel in my mouth anymore, man. That's what I'd like. I'm not thinking about basketball anymore. And I'm a bit of a wimp, and it was horrible, but, you know, they did a good job. I'm going to get to the AstraZeneca, why AstraZeneca's golden skeleton fits into all this so nicely. But while I was laying in the chair, I was like, to me, if I owned Guantanamo Bay, I would only do dental work to people. That's what would happen. That Guantanamo Bay would just be people getting dental work and me questioning them and being like, that's it. You know, where is the terror cell? Oh, you don't know? Root canal for this man. And don't be super gentle with him. You know, just horrible. Oh, you don't know where the bombs are hidden? How about you go for some more unnecessary x-rays? You're off for more. You never notice that the dentist always with the x-rays. Every time I go in, they're like, oh, I think we need to take x-rays. And I've said to them, and my friends, who are other cheap guys like me, have said, it's like, why do we need to do x-rays so much? They're like, your teeth may have moved around. So they're not a military family. They don't just move around in there. They're not well, we don't know. So that's what my Guantanamo Bay, more unnecessary x-rays for you, and don't let his benefits cover it. Rah! And you would know who's been at Guantanamo Bay for a long time because they would have these glorious smiles. Like, ding! How long you been here? Well, I was taken in. I was going to plan a terror attack, but and then they got me. Ding. And the good news is, if they were innocent, then they'd leave and they would just have a great smile. And there wouldn't be as bad of a reputation. You think I'm being insensitive by saying that if I ran Guantanamo Bay, it would be nothing but dental work. But you're insensitive because what they do there is far worse. And I'm actually trying to help people out and fight terrorism. So where does AstraZeneca's golden skeleton come in? After I was leaving, and I was in like so much pain that he could tell that I was like freaked out because we were all swapping opinions at first. And at the end, he was like, so how do you feel? Are you happy that it's over? And because I was in so much pain and I was so freaked out, like not because he's not a good dentist, I just can't take it. I'm a baby. I'm a baby that grew to be a man, but remained a baby. And I was like, I couldn't talk. So I was just looking at him like, and he goes, okay, I'll be back in a little bit. And then he comes back and he uses the term of a child. And he goes, hey, buddy, how we doing? I was like, you know that you're a soft adult when they start using the child. Hey, buddy, how you doing? You okay? I noticed you weren't talkative after we were done. You were a lot more talkative before. It's like, yeah, it was before you put a hammer in my mouth, the back of a hammer, and popped out a tooth off my jaw. I was more talkative. I was a little bit more chatty, wasn't I? So I'm a little scared. And he's telling me, he's like, look, what you need, and you might be able to guess where this AstraZeneca's golden skeleton. He's like, what we need now is for the blood to clot. You need the blood to clot in your mouth. It took him 3 tries to get the tooth out, and he gave me a prescription, which isn't normal. I'm pretty sure that it was like a bad surgery. Not bad, but like a worse than usual. He's like, we need the blood to clot. And I thought, man, how great would it be to just walk into the timing would have been so good to be getting the AstraZeneca vaccine. I wouldn't have had to put the gauze in. I wouldn't have had to do any of the dumb stuff. I could have just went down to the clinic, mouth full of blood. Please, I want one of your bunk vaccines. I don't want the good stuff. I want the junkers that cause the problems. Whatever the bad one is, give that one to me, the factory floor. The vaccines you guys scrape up after the fact, the off-brand ones. I just want your off-brand bad one. I need this to clot up. And another reason why it's a golden skeleton is because AstraZeneca is a household name now. Now, they would have been, up there just for inventing the vaccine. But Pfizer, Moderna, I knew all about those companies. I didn't know about AstraZeneca until now. The blood clotting around the world is better than any Super Bowl ad they could have had. There's no amount of what's up. There's no celebrity. You could bring Elvis and Michael Jackson back from the dead to do a collaborative performance. You won't get that many people saying your vaccine's name, whether both sides of the argument. The AstraZeneca gives you a blood clot. AstraZeneca's not bad because blood clots happen for every reason. That's all I ever hear. That's the opinion I hear. Blood clots happen for every day to everyone. Everyone gets a blood clot at all times. So again, big golden skeleton by them. If some genius at that place was like, yeah, this thing works perfect, but we're not going to get the buzz that we need, and they add a little bit of blood clot juice, I don't know. All I know is that it doesn't really, it's not killing anyone. And a guy like me could have used a blood clot. Oh my goodness. Absolutely horrible. And it reminded me of another time when something horrible happened with the company, and it was actually a golden skeleton, and it was the BP oil spill. You remember when BP had their oil spill? I didn't really know that much about the company until then, but then you learn all about it. You're like, oh, BP. Worldwide, everybody knew about it. Everyone knew. And so it's great name, sort of advertising you can't pay for. And I remember right when it was happening, it was the biggest story in the world. And I was working for a hotel, and a big part of the working at this hotel, I had to drive people around. And like everything on the news was 24-hour just showing the pipe gushing. I don't know if you remember the pipe just gush. And you're like, I remember opening the paper that day, and they had this like fold out that shot oil out at you and a headline that said like BP oil spill. And that's all anyone was talking about. So I go to drive this person, and they, I'm like, okay, when I was like bellman, I was completely sort of disconnected from my work. I just would like go and just be a robot and just do whatever. Like when you go to like a restaurant or something and you tell them like, I thought that the thoughts was a little bit off today, and the person pretends to care. They're not even taking it in. They're not, it's just coming off of their face. I will let the chef know that we've got a customer here that we don't give a shit about at all. I mean, that doesn't like the sauce. So that was me. And it's nothing against people, and it's nothing against the people doing those jobs. You just get like that after a while. So whenever I would meet anyone, I would say, so where are you here from? And then I would say, nice. What brings you to town? No matter what the answers were in between, that's what I would say. So in this case, I get in the car, like literally no matter where are you here from? And if you were like, I'm here from the depths of hell. I escaped from the ground. The Grim Reaper was pulling me back, and I'd go, nice. And I would always say, nice. Oh, nice. Nice. What brings you to town? So I'm driving this lady, and I'm like, so where are you here from? I think she said Houston, somewhere in the States. And I was like, what brings you to town? She's like, well, I work for BP Oil, and we got to do some stuff. And I go, BP, huh? It literally was like, I can't even, she might as well have said like, if it was right now, it would have been like, so who do you work for? And she was like, oh, the Minnesota Police Department. I'm a Minnesota police officer. I'm an evil one. Anyway, I'm like, oh, and she's like, yeah. I never even said anything about it. It just was so popular that she knew right away that all I was thinking about was like, so you guys have had quite the spill. And just so you know, if you're watching this in a different province from Alberta, wherever you are, people don't like oil spills. These companies hate it probably more than the average person, more than an environmentalist does. An environmentalist gets to use it as a weapon to like shut them down. They hate it. They're like, so she's like, yeah, it's brutal. And we're trying to, we got the cap on it. They had just got the cap on it. I don't remember if the thing just spewed forever. We got the cap on it, and it's all, we're really trying to fix the situation. And I felt so bad. I felt so bad to even like go BP, huh? And I felt this need to console her. And it's really funny because neither of us have anything to do with really the moment, but I was like, it's okay. Look, you work for BP. It's fine. You guys, you may have ruined a good chunk of the Atlantic Ocean. Yes, you guys did that. But you seem like a good person. You smell nice. You've been really kind this whole ride. You've tipped every time I dealt with you. Sure, there's a lot of wildlife that have taken some damage because you guys cut corners and the pipe burst. And, it felt so as if she was the person. But that's the truth is that, we're all just humans working together. People make oil companies out to be so evil. And it's like, they're not evil. They're no more evil than any other company, especially the people themselves. They're so great. There's only one company that actually likes an oil spill. And that is Dawn, the soap company. Dawn, I noticed they put out another one. We haven't even had an oil spill in a while. And Dawn was still like, we're cleaning ducks. Oh, you've got an oily duck? Here at Dawn, like we clean the ducks with our soap. They go and they clean like 6 ducks and they shoot 7 commercials. And there's something about it that's just like, oh, well, you know what? It's like, Dawn, stick to just talking about the dishes. That's what I want to know. They're like, well, we actually use it to save the world. We're actually using our soap to save ducks. So, you know, we here at Dawn, like, yes, our plastic bottles that we ship the soap in is made from plastic, which comes from crude oil. Like, yes, our bottles are part of the problem, so to speak. Our bottles are part of the problem. We demand that the bottles come in fast enough for us to get them out. So we need that oil production to be cranked out. And then because we need the oil production cranked out, sometimes something like a pipe bursting in the ocean will happen. But then here we are, the heroes. We here at Dawn, we come in with our soap and we clean the ducks right off. I don't know. It bothers me. And then I got to thinking about how the oil company is always the bad guy. Dawn has the nerve to be like, oh yeah, like we saved the day with our soap. And I got to thinking that in this whole, after years and years of blaming oil companies for everything, the entire pandemic basically was like solved by the oil companies. Oil companies are the hero. No one is talking. BP Oil specifically, because they took some heat. These guys are BP Oil, Exxon, Shell Mobil, heroes. All of the plastic that was put up, that's made from oil. All of it. The PPE made from oil. The distribution of the vaccines, the yeans, it's all from oil. And they don't get any of the love. It kind of bothers me. You know, like what did you guys, the whole world, how are we ever going to get the vaccines? We were going to gallop them in on horseback. They were going to come in. Like, we really owe these companies a thank you, but not only do they not get any credit, everybody just hates them. Everybody can't stand them. They're like, God, oil companies, so evil, right? It's like, well, they got the miracle cure that made us all get to escape from our home prisons. Not only is the packaging made from that, but the way that they get around is all from these oil companies. Thank goodness for the oil companies. We could all get out of the jail that we've been in for the last year. They are evil. They're evil. The nerve. You're brainwashed because you live in Alberta. It's like, I'm not brainwashed at all. I'm not brainwashed. I just think that there was a golden skeleton when AstraZeneca gave people blood clots. I could have used a blood clot yesterday, and I realized that, you know, there's always a silver lining to all this stuff. The BP oil spill was bad, but here's BP saving the world to this day, saving the world right now. They don't get any love, despite, I'm not going to beat this dead horse. But yeah, think about that. Oil companies did a lot. They saved everyone. They put up all the PP, all the plastic you walk by. They did it all. I don't know, guys. I guess I'll just give the thank yous. I'd like to thank Jeremy, Perry, Nate, Andrew, McKenna, Bruce. I think that's all of them. Oh, my buddy Matt listens, and he was like, I listened to the whole thing. And that's how you know that he probably didn't listen to the whole thing. But you guys, thank you so much for listening. Today was about golden skeletons. Check out that Yes Men documentary. It's called The Yes Men. It's definitely worth the watch. Super cool. It's free on YouTube. And, look out for the golden skeletons in your life. Have a great day. Dance until the music fades. It's like The Simpsons when they had Conan dancing like that in the chair. That's what I always picture.